Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Jarrell Mason, aka Jay Mason. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Album Cover, where we get inside the entertainment industry with those in the know and give them their flowers while they're here to be celebrated. With me right now is my good friend, former co-worker, radio enthusiast, jack of all trades, master of none. He's in the mix, CJ Riddick. CJ, welcome back to Beyond the Album Cover, man. How are you?
What's going on, man? I don't know if I'm in the know or not. I mean, I'm just here.
Hey, we all just here, and radio don't pay us the big bucks no more, so that's why we both got out of Dodge.
Right, yeah, exactly. So, what's going on?
Man, not much, man. You know how it is when we get together and talk shop. So speaking of radio and getting out of Dodge, there was an article that was brought to my attention by my good friend Desmond Johnson. What up, Des? Over at Tobacco Road Sports Radio, about how ESPN Radio and pretty much sports talk radio is on its dying deathbed, and how all over the country we're seeing cuts, and these big conglomerates don't really know what they're doing when they come to running these properties and how to mix local and the national and making it be a great selling point. So what's your take on what's going on right now in the world of sports talk?
It's it's crazy. What I think is really going on, and this has just popped in my head. We had an off-air conversation about it briefly, but it just popped in my head that I think what's happening is they're finally getting what the other music formats has been getting for years. Because if you look around, your music format has always been the one to get cut first. You know, okay, let's cut the top 40, let's cut the urban stations people, let's cut the country stations people, and now finally it's getting around to the news talk because these companies just can't make enough money right now. You know, they're in so much debt.
Yeah, and how does radio survive now, knowing that you can't make your revenue like you once did via ad sales and having those big clients, as you and I know, being in the formerly being in business, such as nightclubs, car dealerships, and your big national accounts, to where I could go spend half of that or less via Facebook advertising or other advertising via social media, so I can go straight direct to consumer and get real time analytics.
Well, technically, you still can make money doing radio. I know a small market radio station that's on the verge of doing $500,000 a year.
Wow.
You know, so and that's just one station. That's not a cluster. That's just one. So it can, radio can do good, but you have to get back to what made radio, and we've all forgotten about that. A matter of fact, you got a whole generation that's in it right now that really doesn't know because we're the voice track generation. You know, by the time we got old enough to be able to work, that's what started happening. So we don't know, how it's supposed to be done, but you got to do things at least somewhat right.
Yeah.
And I can say this now because I'm probably not going to get another full-time radio job ever. But hey, it's all good. I'm just telling the truth. We have to get back into getting in people's faces. We got a lot of competition out here. Um, Stop thinking of we both did urban radio. Okay, one of the things I always preach was everybody's our competition. It's not just the other urban station in Raleigh and the ones in Richmond and the one in Norfolk. It's everybody's our competition. It's every podcast is our competition. TV shows is our competition. So how can you stand out before them? Well, number one, you got to be local. Number two, you got to get out in front of people. If you local and you just sitting in the radio station every day, it ain't gonna do you no good. You know, think about it. Your station vehicle. When you seen a station vehicle ride around town,
Uh, it's been a minute.
it's been a long time. That's a billboard. That's a riding billboard from the radio station. So it's like it's sitting in the parking lot. Anybody gonna see it? So we got to get back to doing stuff like that. I know it sounds old school, and everybody says, "Oh, you could use social media and da 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 da." And yes, you can. We probably do need to use that. We do need to use that also, but we also need to use the old school methods. Hey, somebody walking into Walmart, hey, let's hand them $99 if they got the radio tuned to us. Go back to the old school style.
Yeah,
Why
because I
not?
was yeah, why not? Everything is not new under the sun, because when I was researching the hot hits format, they would have a couple of contests that was standard across the hot hit stations, where it was where you had to literally be tuned into the station, because they could literally call you at any time for the cash count or some other contest, to where you had to make sure your dial was tuned into that station. I think that was what made 102 Jams out in Greensboro so very successful, because Brian Douglas, who was the program
Yeah.
director, GM over at formerly Intercom, now Odyssey. He came from the school of from WAP, the Big Ape out of Jacksonville, Florida, and it was all about LNL, live and local, getting out in the streets, cultivating local talents. Where I want my overnight job to be just as good as the morning, midday, or afternoon drive job.
Right. Yeah. But you also got to remember too. You also still got to keep in mind people's attention spans is zero right now. It used to be the days where I can go out to the car lot, for example, and do a remote and say, "Hey, I got tickets to this concert. Come and get them." And you have 10, 15 cars just pull up on you. Just like that. Nowadays, it's not that simple. Now it's kind of okay. I'm riding by. I done what I need to do. Let me just stop by. It's kind of like that, and you get a trickle of people. Where before, you get a decent amount. So things has changed to get people. It's harder to get people's attention, but once again, you got to get in people's faces and stay in people's faces. It's the only way you're gonna do it.
Right. And I also think too, like how you mentioned that you have to compete for attention now, because you have to deal with
Yeah.
podcasts, TV, streaming, eyeballs and ears is constantly being flooded to go to the next thing, and nothing's gonna really hold your attention anymore. And there's so much glut that you definitely can get overexposed really quick, because everything is
Right.
I got to stay in front of your face. I got to stay in front of your face. I got to drop content weekly. I got to drop content daily. I got to drop content every hour, because somebody's always putting out something, and that can detract you from adding future subscribers and lower your viewership or your listener count.
Right. Yeah. It's like I said, it's just always, you gotta stay, you just gotta stay in people's faces, man. That's what if anybody asks about radio, I just keep saying that. You gotta stay in people's faces. I mean, that's the only way they're gonna know about it. They gotta see you all over the place. The old days of they just coming out because they support you is not gonna happen anymore. Unless you're giving away something real major.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
even then you got to really promote it, heavily.
yeah, you gotta do more than just bumper stickers and t-shirts now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean everything helps, but yeah, you just got to get up and just get up in people's faces, man. That's all you can do.
Right. And we were having an off-air conversation prior to recording, and we were talking about how there's not really anybody around to really document the history of, I would say, urban radio. There's a lot of older air checks online that document top 40 and other formats, but rarely do you find any of that on the urban side of things, especially
Yeah.
like how we mentioned Tidewater area, Virginia, northeastern North Carolina, central North Carolina. Can we just talk about the importance of it is to make sure that history is preserved and documented? Because, like how you stated, that all of those who came before us are no longer here, and there's nobody left really to really tell the tale and preserve it for future generations.
Yeah, we were talking about it. One the station that really comes to mind, I've been hearing all about it, growing up, was WRAP in Norfolk. And that station was like one of the first. They called it Negro stations back in the day. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word here,
Yeah,
but
you can.
okay, all right. So that was what they called it back in the day. It was one of the first ones that came on the air. Of course, it played R&B and stuff like that. I mean, and it's no tapes of it anywhere. I have tapes on my hard drive right now of WRVQ when it came on as WRVQ because it was WRVA at first. I have tapes of that when that first came on the air. I have tapes of WGH and uh, the original WTAR on 790. You know, I have tapes of all of that from the 70s and 60s and stuff like that, but it's nothing there um of WRAP. And you know, we kind of dig on the internet. You can't find a lot of information. And one of the most popular DJs that was on WRAP, he passed away maybe a year or two ago. I think it was 2021 when Bobby J passed away. But he was one of the big time disc jockeys that was on WRAP, and then he transitioned over to uh, I guess it'd be the successor radio stations that kind of formed after WRAP went away, and he kind of stuck around. But yeah, it's we have one little clip of him. Can I play an audio clip on this real quick?
Yeah, play it briefly before the copyright
I
police
mean,
come and shut you
it's a
down.
yeah, it's a short clip. I don't even think it has too much music behind it because he talks over it. So hold on, let me see if I can find it real quick. But yeah, man, stations like that, the guys that know the history, I mean, they're in their 70s. I mean, they're up there in age. So it's like the few that is here that know it, you know, they we need to get them to tell the tale of the radio station and go ahead and get it on tape so we have something to pass along. I was telling you off the air also, the big urban station that's over there, Wowie, WOWI in Norfolk. That station has been urban since 1975. And you know, on the air, of course, you never know that because they never tell you that. But I'm like, that's real major. You've been basically the same format for almost 50 years. Like, you need to big that up. You definitely a heritage station. Hold on, let me see if I can find this air check here. Hold on, let me search his name.
Yeah, and speaking of urban, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to this yet, but Questlove on Questlove Supreme got a rare exclusive sit down with Miss Kathy Hughes.
Oh wow, yeah, because she really don't do interviews. That's
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I tried and she brushed me off like Marshawn Lynch when he stiff armed Josh Norman. But you know, just to hear her story about how Urban One, formerly Radio One, came to be, how the Quiet Storm format was created, Melvin Lindsay and everything with WHUR and Talk to Me, and she just really just laid it all out there. And you know, we need everybody in the broadcasting industry give Miss Hughes her flowers for what she has done in this business.
All right, here go the air check. I finally found it.
All right, let's take a listen.
All right.
And do you know what year this air check was from?
Uh Hold on. Yeah, he was one of the original one. That was from 2002
Oh,
when
okay.
he was on 105.3 FM. So
Nice.
but yeah, he was one of the ones that was on the station. It's a few more that's still floating around, but like I said, they're really getting up there in age, and I think it's time that, you know, we need to try to tell the story. I wish I had a video production because I would definitely go into the Tidewater area and see if we can do a WRAP documentary and hey, tell the tale of the radio station. Hey, this is how it was way back in the day.
Yeah, because like how we mentioned, it's important to know the history. Z100, they put out a couple years ago a documentary documenting their rise from worst to first with Scott Shannon and some of the big personalities that came along when Z100 was starting out. And a couple years ago, Kirby Carmichael, who was on 92Q out in Richmond, did a documentary called, I believe, The Soul Legends of Central Virginia, talking about the various radio personalities within the R&B format in and around
Yeah.
Richmond.
Yeah, I was thinking about Richmond is another one too that has a rich history with Magic 99, which is now 99.3 Kiss in Richmond. It's the urban AC there now. But yeah, a lot of those guys. One of the key guys, Mitch Malone. He recently passed away in the last couple of years. So and I think Juan Condi, he actually transitioned over to TV. He just retired from Channel 8 in Richmond, and he was a long time personality. And I don't know who's left from that station for sure. I got to go talk to some of the guys up there that I know. But yeah, man, I think we need to. If somebody has the equipment, we need to do a documentary so we can go ahead and get these stories out.
Right, definitely tell the tale, keep the history preserved and alive, just like Ellis B. Feaster with his classic radio air checks, and how for Central North Carolina, you can't really find a lot of classic radio air checks for urban. I was only able to find maybe one of 1097.5 that was from fall of 89. It was maybe less than 5 minutes with Cy Young and the Wake Up Morning Patrol, and I had the pleasure of interviewing Cy Young and Thomas the Thrill Hill on this podcast. And I told Cy, I was like, man, because of you all at K97, I know Grace Jones pull up to my bumper because you also use that as your talk bed.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I used that even when he was doing. I might have a tape of it here somewhere of him doing a traffic report, and that's being played. But yeah, man, we just need to be able to preserve the history and pass it along to the next generation that's coming up. Even though I don't think it's a lot that's coming up, but still we need to preserve it. And with podcasting and stuff like that, you still can get the word. Hey, this was WRAP. Hey, this was WOWI. Wow, we 103 Jams. And of course a lot of the 103 Jam story at its height, at its peak, we can tell that story because it happened when we were teenagers basically. So we know a lot of the stories and heard about it. So yeah, hopefully maybe one day when I get some free time from one of my 18 jobs, I can make that number 19.
Yeah,
you know
definitely make that a passion project that needs to be told. And I think another story that needs to be told too, that I'm thinking is being worked on, is just the story of how huge Dorton Arena was in Raleigh as one of the major venues that was used for I believe it was it Mid Atlantic Wrestling? That was the Jim Crockett
Yep.
promotion that was here. They used to tape at WRAL. Shout out to Chris Lee,
Yeah,
who's doing big things at WRAL, and how
I know, right,
Prince.
man, every time I see him on TV, like, yeah, I know him, that's Show Smooth.
Yeah,
Like,
I have
no,
a
it's not Chris Lee, it's Show Smooth.
yeah, I call him the artist formerly known as Show Smooth.
Oh,
Seeing what
that's a good name. That's what I'm gonna call him
yeah,
from now on.
yeah, the artist formerly known as Show Smooth, doing this thing at WRL, being the first African American anchor on WRL doing sports, because when you and I were coming up, it was Tom Suter, and then after Tom Suter, it was Jeff Gravely, and then he ended up replacing Jeff Gravely, and also don't forget Bob Holiday, that was
Man,
doing
he half
WRL.
and half, man. So he like Obama. He's half. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they still have the Tom Suter extra effort award that they're giving out. And how I was saying about Dorn Arena, that was really one of the earliest venues where Prince got introduced to Central North Carolina, because he was opening up for Rick James on Rick James tour. And in Rick James documentary, it was told that Rick was afraid of the guy from Minneapolis because he was bringing that heat.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And you know what's crazy? And I'm gonna go ahead and say this. Where else were you gonna go?
At that time, around
At that
80,
time, it
80,
was
81, Dorton Arena was
it,
it, right?
yeah, it was no really other big arena that you could that's considered big in that time standard. I mean, because you got to think it's about the same size as the Norfolk Scope, Hampton Coliseum, and they're all about the same size. And then Richmond is a little bit bigger, even though that's closed down now. But yeah, it was Greensboro was the biggest. So it was either if you want to come to Raleigh, you got to go to Dorton Arena. So you kind of had to. Even Charlotte was smaller. What was about that size? The original Charlotte Coliseum, which is now, is it Bojangles Arena? They call it now.
Yeah, I
Because
want to
it
say
was
that's Bojangles Coliseum.
yeah, because it was originally the Charlotte Coliseum, and then when they built the big Charlotte Coliseum, they changed the name to something Independence Arena. And then when they tore down the old Charlotte Coliseum, I think the name kind of went back over there, and then it went to Bojangles or something. They kind of shuffled the names around there. So, but yeah, man, yeah, Dorton Arena, that was the place. You want to see wrestling? Hey, that's the place you had to go.
Yeah, because
Hey, did,
somebody
did you did you know it used to come to Roanoke Rapids High School too?
that's what my mom told me, that Mid Atlantic Wrestling would make stops in and around Warner Rapids to do a show or two at the high school gym, and it would kind of be like a barnstorming tour before they would go to Raleigh to WRL to tape.
Yeah, you know how now WWE they usually have two tours going on. One is usually SmackDown, one usually Raw. One is kind of an A show, one is kind of a B show.
Mm.
Well, back then they had an A, B, and a C crew, and a lot of times the C crew would stop through the smaller towns before they go to the bigger towns. Is how they did it.
Yeah, I was about to say, did those A, B, and C tours normally cross paths somewhere and then they would switch off
Yeah,
and continue with that same
yeah,
tour?
yeah. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes I have seen it. It's actually a website that has like all the house shows and stuff like that. You can see them listed. I think it starts in the early '80s and go all the way through the '90s. And you could see how they were moving around, and it's actually interesting to see, especially the TV taping era. Where they would when WWE and WCW would go to an arena and tape a whole month of worth of television and stuff like that. So it's real interesting to see how they moved around and did the house shows, and I'm like, man, who in the world coordinated all that stuff?
Right, because I was looking at, it was WWE Legends, and Eric Bischoff was talking about the Monday Night Wars with Nitro and Raw, and it was that night on Raw where DX was at, I want to say, either Norfolk or Hampton, and Nitro was at the other venue,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they drove the tank up to the entrance. I think it was to the Coliseum in Hampton, and
yeah.
because Raw was at Norfolk Scope that night, and
Other way around.
yeah, whatever
Other
way.
way. Yeah,
All right,
it was flipped the other way.
yeah, so Bischoff had said, had he would have known that, he would have opened that door and let that tank come through, because thinking about how white hot WWE and WCW were at the time, how they were battling back and forth for eyeballs. Because remember, this was pre DVR,
Yeah,
and you only had opportunity to record one show, and you had to miss the other, and you had to catch the recap at school the next day. And Nitro's big selling point, when I was looking at the documentary on the Monday Night Wars, was that they would tell you what happened on Raw, because I believe Raw pre-taped.
yeah. Raw would what they would do. I think they basically do the same schedule now. Well, but no, actually they don't. They change it up a little bit now because Friday nights is live. But like let's say for example, Monday night will be a live Raw. They would tape the next week's Raw on the next Tuesday, on the very next night. So yeah, it would every other week was recorded to save some money. So they would say, okay, we're gonna be Raw is going to be in it's going to be live in Raleigh. Then the next show will be in Fayetteville, and then that'll be the next week's Raw. So basically, you can see it a week ahead if you actually travel to the shows. That's the real crazy part. But yo, did you realize like on Monday nights between 8 and 11, those two shows had about 7 million people watching because Raw or Nitro would have about 4 million, then the other show would have another 3 million on top of it.
And to
So you
think
would
of,
have 7 million people watching the show. Do you realize like a lot of live sports don't even get that much?
I was about to say, and the crazy thing was both of those shows were competing with Monday Night Football.
And here's another crazy part. I think TNT at the time
Well, I forgot
you didn't
TNT
get
had
you did
NFL coverage.
that was only Eastern and Central time zone for the most part because you got to think if it comes on at 8 o'clock at night, 8, 7, 6, it's 5 o'clock Pacific.
So it's going to be
So that
delayed for the
means they're
West and the
not,
Mountain.
people in LA and the mountains, they're just leaving work when that show is on, which is pretty cool, by the way. But yeah, man, and Raw was the only one that had USA had two feeds. So they would get the East live, and then a 3 hour delay would be on USA West.
Oh
That
yeah,
that's that was that was
that's
the
right.
advantage of the satellite back in the day.
Woo! Oh yeah, I remember that when like Nickelodeon they had the East West feed, and certain
Yeah,
channels they would have the East Coast feed and the West Coast feed where
yeah. Some of them didn't have it. ESPN doesn't have it nowadays.
uh
But it's really no point in them having it because they do mostly
mm,
live sports. But
mm.
I think nowadays most everybody has them. An East feed and a West feed. And I mean, but back in the day, yeah, I used to be able to if I missed a WWF show, let's say if I missed what used to come on USA, the Saturday morning show, whatever it
uh
was called.
oh
They changed the name so much.
you're talking about Mania, then it became Live
Yeah.
Wire,
Like, yeah, if
and
I
then
if I
something
miss
else.
Mania, if I didn't catch it at what 9, 10 o'clock, I could see it again at noon
Oh, on the
or one
West Coast
o'clock.
feed.
Yeah, I could see the West Coast feed. I had access to it. So yeah, that was the advantage of the big satellite dishes back in the day, which I know I sound like a complete nerd, but that was the coolest ish ever.
No, but what I hated about the satellite feed was that was the only time in my grandma's house where I could be able to see the Disney Channel when it was free preview weekend, because they would air it for that weekend
Oh
and then
yeah.
have that little commercial in between to get you that Mickey Mouse watch. Call your local cable or satellite operator and say you want the Disney Channel, because this was maybe 6 or 7 years before Disney Channel became basic, back when it
Yeah.
was premium.
What's crazy too? Like on my dad's, like the VH1, MTV, and Nickelodeon, we didn't have that. Like so basically I never really saw any of the Nickelodeon shows other than, I never stayed at home when I was at my mom's house. I was always at her best friend's house
Mm,
and they had cable.
mm,
So yeah, I would see it when I was there. When I was at my dad's house, I never saw any of that.
right.
No MTV, no nothing. We didn't he didn't have the channel because back then you didn't buy a package, you brought the channel individually.
So it was a
So
la
so
carte.
you could, yeah, it was a la carte. So yeah, you could just buy, hey, I just want TBS, TNT, CNN, and they would charge you like 25 cents or $1.25 per channel. And then of course, your package would add up. Now you could buy some channels in the package, like if you wanted the network channels, if you want, I think at the time it was WREL was even on it. So if you wanted to buy them, it would be like $10 a month or whatever. But for the most part, your individual cable channels, you had to buy them one by one. And we also had the fees the TV station would get. Now that was another fun thing to sit back and watch. The fees the TV stations would get for programs. So let's say Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune. Like I would see those the day before it even aired on television. Like your primetime shows on UPN and WB.
Mhm.
I used to see those shows about 3, 4 hours before they aired. Oh shoot, I done hit my microphone. Yeah, I see those shows like 3 or 4 hours before they aired on the affiliate stations. So yeah, I used to see all kinds of stuff.
So how were you able to get the master feed before it got sent out to the affiliates?
Because they basically ran off the same satellite. They used the C-band satellite. Is basically what it is. And if you had one that could actually with a satellite that could actually move, you could get access to all that. You could technically do it now. It's digital. I mean, you still can somewhat do it today. So yeah, it was real cool. I mean, you could really nerd out and see stuff like I used to see Big 12 basketball games on ESPN Plus. Not the ESPN Plus we got now, but the syndication ESPN Plus. And like during the commercial breaks, all their show was just the arena. The ACC feeds was like that too. They were up there. ACC Network. Well, it wasn't ACC Network. Then it was Raycom. I see their feeds. Man, you used to see all kinds of weird stuff like if somebody's doing an interview for a local TV with a local TV station, you see them sitting there on camera adjusting their hair and doing the makeup and stuff. Then you hear them just do the interview out of the blue. I mean, it was some fun, interesting stuff that you would see up there.
Right. So can we just talk about how a game changer cable TV was? Because prior to cable, you only had your three affiliates, maybe an independent, if you were lucky, depending on the reception of your TV. But once cable hit, that kind of opened up the freedom of choice and catering to a specific demographic, like we mentioned MTV, VH1,
Yeah,
BT, USA. These specialized channels were coming into play, whereas prior to, you just had to program to everybody.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it was definitely a game changer, man. Definitely more options. And like I said, the crazy part is I didn't have cable in my life like every single day until I moved to Roanoke Rapids. I bet you ain't know that. I didn't have cable until where every day I get up, boom, there's cable TV. It was 1999.
I mean, what were y'all watching out there by the Great Dismal Swamp?
Let me see. My dad had satellite. My mom, we just went off the antenna. We just had a like a
Old
it was
school.
it was like a 70, 80 foot antenna we had on the outside, and we could pick up all the Norfolk stations. We could pick up Greenville. We could even pick up WRAL.
Wow.
So basically we had like the your network television. Of course, nowadays it would actually be cool because now if you have an antenna, depending on where you stay, you can get quite a few channels now because they kind of split the bands up where you can have multiple channels like WREL. There's WREL 1, which is NBC, and they got WREL 2, which is what is it now? It's like a little side network, and then they got the 3, which is all news now. And every TV station has that. So yeah, like nowadays it's like real crazy. So you can easily have 50 channels with just the antenna now. Where
Right.
back in the day you had 5.
Yeah, because I think too that sub channel is kind of like a Me TV kind of sort of
Yeah.
format, and how WRL is the only, I believe, TV station within Central North Carolina to hold the distinction of having affiliation with the big three: ABC, NBC, CBS. Originally, they were ABC affiliate, and then in '85, when the capital cities brought ABC, that was when TVD and WRAL swapped affiliates. And then it was after the Super Bowl 50, that was when WRAL switched from CBS to being an NBC affiliate.
Yeah. Hey man, money talks. that's
And
the
you know what
that's the
walks.
Yeah, that's the best way to explain it. Money talks. I'm sure NBC, when they go out and sell to advertisers, they like to say, hey, we got these ratings and we got a, you know, top 5 TV station in every single market. Well, they didn't have Raleigh Durham, and Raleigh Durham, believe it or not, it's actually a top 25 market. I think last I saw it was ranked number 25 in TV.
Wow.
And I know the radio is like 40 something, but and in case you're wondering, TV DMAs and radio markets are totally different. Your TV DMA it goes off your entire coverage area that you have to cover. So WREL basically is Mecklenburg County, Virginia, and it goes all the way down past Fayetteville. where the radio market is basically just your immediate Raleigh Durham area, Raleigh Durham, Chapel Hill, maybe a few counties on the outskirts. But yeah, your TV DMA, it covers all of that. Richmond basically goes from Fredericksburg all the way down to the North Carolina Virginia border. So the TV DMA is gonna be a little bit different. But yeah, man, if you want to go to the company and say, hey, you know, hey, WREL, let's come over to NBC. You know, we want you guys. We want to have the top news and top in every top 25 market, and we need you. Here's some money.
And the one thing about WRL that I liked over the other Raleigh Durham stations was that they pretty much were vital to making sure local programming was on
Yeah.
TV. For kids on Saturday mornings, they had the Andrina Show, Sparks, Brain Game, Central Express, Frog Hollow back in the early '80s, and they really did a lot to make sure local programming for the kids
And
was vital.
and Brain Game is still on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's still on to this
Uh,
day.
it,
Saturday mornings. That time might fluctuate, but it's on Saturday mornings around
who
11 a.m.
who is Mark Roberts still the host of that, or do they have a new host?
I think he still is.
Wow.
I haven't watched it in a while. I might record it on my DVR and check it out. But yeah, I think he's still the host of it. So yeah, they still do that. But that's what happens when you are it's just like one of our mutual friends, we always talk about, WRAL, like they don't mind spending money, but they are an independent company. They're not a major corporate, ownership. They basically own them, the Fox affiliate, Fox 50, and they own another TV station down in Wilmington. And that's it, TV wise. And they got some radio stuff, and they own the Durham Bulls. They own them too, and they got a couple of other little properties that they have. But for the most part, on TV, that's the big dog right there, man. I mean, if a new TV Doppler radar comes out and they want it, they're gonna get it.
Right.
A new helicopter comes out. If they want it, they're gonna get it.
Right. Right. And can we talk about the importance, the legacy of this radio station within Central North Carolina and around our neck of the woods? You were able to get it strong and clear until I want to say maybe '07, '08, where they dropped their wattage because they moved their tower, I believe, to Carborough. But WQOK K97.5.
Yeah, man. I'm not too familiar with K97.5's history because I wasn't born in the area. So, I was further to the east where I definitely couldn't get them. But yeah, when I was here, yeah, they were the top. They was really the only one in town other than Soul 92. They were around, which was out of Rocky Mount. But they were the only two that was around. And actually Soul 92 actually did events around the area, if I remember correctly. I remember D Train coming up when I was little. He was the afternoon guy program director. But yeah, K97. I wasn't too familiar. I was more familiar with Foxy,
Mm,
because they came in over where I lived a whole lot. You could pick them up pretty easily. So I was a little more familiar with them because heck, I remember when Foxy had a local morning. I think Cy Young did it. I think you
yeah,
interviewed Cy. Yeah, I think he did the
yeah.
Foxy morning show.
Yeah, it was Cy Young. I forgot who the female jock
I
was,
think
and
he
they had
had different.
a comedian, Terry Tuff,
Yeah, and this was before they started syndicating our boy, the fly jock Tom Joyner.
the hardest working man in show business.
Yeah, and a lot of people. I was telling somebody about how he used to fly around. Somebody was like, "How the heck can he do that?" Because the story about he
Yeah,
he used to do mornings in Dallas, and then he would get to the airport by 10:30 and fly to Chicago. He'll get to Chicago a little after lunch, and then he would go to the gym, work out, get something to eat, and then go be on the air in the afternoons until 7, and then he'll fly back home to Dallas.
Yeah, because I believe when he officially retired from the business, American Airlines gave him literally the seat that he sat in, will fly back and forth between Dallas, where he was on mornings at KKDA, K104, and then do WGCI.
Yeah. Nowadays, if somebody wanted to be on multiple stations, they could sit in their house.
Voice track,
yeah, yeah. That's the crazy part.
Scott
You can now
Studios.
just you can just sit in your house and it could be on. And I ain't talking about of course later on Tom was sent down the satellite so anybody could grab his show anywhere as long as you got the equipment. Nowadays you can just sit in the studio and say, okay, I could do my show for this station, and then okay, I'm gonna turn around and do this radio station too.
Right,
So now
right,
you only have to leave your room.
right. Which makes me think just now just how much work went into American Top 40 when Casey Kasem was doing it back when they used to send it out to the affiliates via vinyl or reel to reel.
I think I do. I got his. Do I got a tape of that? I thought I had a cut. No, 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 no. That was another countdown show that I got a record for. I gotta find it. I remember I slid it in with Cameo Word Up on vinyl,
Mhm.
and I just don't know what Cameo Word Up vinyl is. So I dig it out one day, and actually I need to record it to digital. I'm glad you said that. now I can put that on my to-do list. I might do that here tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, and if
But
you
yeah, it
have
was
any,
a
yeah, if you have any the countdown footage of Walt Baby Love, put that up because you can't hardly
I,
find any air checks of that either.
I don't have anything with hold on. I don't have anything with Walk Baby. I sure don't.
Yeah, I think there's some air checks with Walt Baby when he was on 99X out of New York and some of the other stations, and maybe one countdown show from 96 from radio station out of Syracuse. I want to say, and like I said, I had the pleasure of interviewing him, Donnie Simpson, Shadow Stevens, the late Cameron Paul out of Camiel, and just thinking about those guys and how you know they pretty much shaped radio. And also I just got this book that came out 20 plus years ago about the late great Hal Jackson, who pioneered radio in and around New York area on BLS, had Hal Jackson's Talented Teens, and was really one of the forerunners of African Americans being in radio.
And you know what's crazy? I know I have a tape of it. I just don't know where it's at. But I have a tape of Frankie Hollywood Crocker, who was actually the program director of WBLS,
Mhm.
and he had a syndicated back when we had the Jammin' Oldies was on fire, and the classic hit state that classic hits classic R&B stations was on fire.
Mhm.
He had a countdown show, and I actually got a full tape of it. The
Wow.
thing is, I don't know where it's at. I
Wow.
couldn't
And
tell you
speak
where it was at, but
wow.
I know I got it.
Wow. Speaking of Frankie Crocker, did you know that he was one of the first jocks on VH1, and how VH1 was really the first channel outside of BT to really embrace black artists? And I had TC Tompkins on just recently. He was a promo man for various record labels. He was the man responsible for breaking Sade in the States, and how he had to explain to her, like, look, you're gonna have to play the race game when you come over here, when you market towards radio, because of course in Europe they're diverse with their formats, they play everything. Whereas over
Uh-huh.
here it's segregated. And we all know why. Look at your history books before they burn them. I'm looking at you, Florida and Texas. But
Taking shots.
yeah, shots fired. I'm brought, I'm bossed, I'm bothered.
I
R.I.P.
th-
Shirley
I
Chisholm.
thought I thought I was taking the shots, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but he was explaining to her, like, look, America is racist. You're gonna have to play into the race game. You're gonna have to be marketed as an R&B artist, even though she didn't want to be seen as just that. And he put, I believe it was "Hang On to Your Love" off of Diamond Life as her lead off single to introduce her to the urban audience. And once that hit pay dirt on urban, then that was when they came with Your Love Is King, Smooth Operator, all of the stuff that we know today to cross over to the pop side. And it's crazy how pre Michael Jackson, rarely would you find a black artist getting played on MTV. Even
You
though Mark Goodman said in an interview with David Bowie, when David Bowie was grilling him about MTV's lack of black artists being played, followed the company line where it was like, we only cater to so and so, and we're worried that middle America is going to be afraid of Prince, aka black people. So we pretty
yeah.
much got to do what we got to do to maintain that Iowa cornbread money, that children of the
Well,
corn money.
here's the thing that a lot of people miss here, and you was a witness to this as well. The little urban station that we worked on.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was in a majority black area, but we had a lot of white listeners, a whole lot. I mean, to this day, I have white kids coming up saying, "Hey, we used to listen to y'all because we were the top 40 station." Even though format wise we wasn't the top 40 station, but we were the top 40 station because you couldn't really pick up anybody else easily. Q94, if the wind blow the right direction, you could pick it up. The one out of Raleigh or Greenville, if the
G105.
yeah, G105 or Bob 93.3, if the wind blow the wrong way, you can't pick it up anymore. So it's like we were the top 40 station, and they used to love it. Yeah, it was a hip hop station, but yeah, we were the popular station in the area. But that was one thing that where race didn't matter. But of course, this is what 2008, 2009,
Mm.
so yeah, we're giving away our age right now.
Yeah, we're washed.
I'm not as old as I look or you think I am.
Yeah. We're
You
we're
know.
we're 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 washed. But I was telling you too that there's an air check from 1987 of Foxy 107, and it was the late Wax Master Tory and DJ Sound Machine mixing. And shout out to DJ Sound Machine. And if you ever want to come on Beyond the Album Cover, Sound Machine, your invitation is open. But I say that to say this, that it was a great sounding station, hot, smoking. But the problem was K97 came in, took over Raleigh, Durham, the surrounding areas, and they didn't have the coverage area that K97 had, because Foxy 107 didn't really have a big coverage. So what ended up happening, I think it was like 90 or 91. That was when they ended up switching formats, and then they got the 104 frequency from what used to be WTKC Katy Country out near Rocky Mount, and they picked up the 104 frequency to cover that in. So I want to say Franklin,
Yeah,
Nash,
they
like,
moved the tower.
yeah, right into Wake to
Yeah, what
cover that short area, and then that's how you
what
got
they
Foxy 107, 104.
what they used to do, and the king of doing this was Tom Joyner, not the Tom Joyner we were just talking about, but it's another Tom Joyner that actually did radio. He was the king of like buying these outline radio stations. Like you'll see I think the original 104.3 was like a class A 6,000 watt station for Tarboro. He did an engineering survey that said that he could take the station and move the tower like 20 miles to the west and make it 100,000 watts, and then it'll cover Raleigh. He was the king of doing that. As a matter of fact, he was the one that I don't think, actually it wasn't him that did that. 99.9 The Fan,
Mm,
that actually was not a Raleigh station. You know where that station came from?
no.
I don't know if you remember the story behind it, but it was a lot behind it. That station actually came from Chase City, Virginia, right up the road from us.
Mhm.
Well, they Tom Joyner had it, and I think they found out that they could move it down into Raleigh, but it was a whole lot that had to be made. So basically, what they did was take that and move it down to Raleigh. So when they moved it down, the 99.7 that was in Rocky Mount had to move to 99.3. The 99.3 that was in a Hosky had to move the tower further east, about 20 miles further east, so that that 99.9 could be there. And then the 99.9 in Wilmington, which Capital Broadcasting on, had to drop the power down from 100,000 watts to 50,000 watts so that one station could move into Raleigh. So, yeah, they spent a lot of money on that crap. A
And
lot of money.
man, that is crazy. And just recently, there are 3 volumes of 80s commercials recorded from an MTV feed from YouTube, where inserted were local insert ads from Village Cable. At the time, they were the cable systems for Chapel Hill and the surrounding areas. So you would see local ads for a business out of Carborough, a local cable channel out of Chapel Hill, and the station B93.9 out of Raleigh Durham. I think it's country.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the mid 80s, 84 to 89, they were top 40. I believe they were competing with G105. They went by 94Z. And with 94Z, they pretty much pioneered the morning zoo format for the triangle area. And then in 89, I guess the previous owners decided to flip it to another format because they didn't want them to be ending up competing, I guess, with G105, because they ended up being brought, I believe, by the same company, I believe.
Yeah, eventually it got under, yeah, it did eventually get under the same company. If I'm not mistaken, it was one point most of the stations in Raleigh Durham was all under one company for a little while.
Mm,
In order to back when Clear Channel brought AM and FM,
mm,
I want to say, because Clear Channel already had stations here, AM and FM had stations here, and I think Curtis Media wasn't as big as it is now, nowhere near as big as it is now,
mm.
and Radio One wasn't here at all. Radio One was actually brought in to take stations off of Clear Channel's hands, because Clear Channel owned just about everything
So they
at
pretty
one
much had a
point.
monopoly.
Yeah, yeah, they was way over the limit. So that's when Radio One came in and got, Foxy, K97, and the gospel station. And I think Curtis, he picked up a couple out of the deal. I think Curtis only had PTF AM and QDR at the time.
Mm.
And they had 90, I think Clear Channel had 96.9 and 101.1. They had 102.9. Had Foxy, K97, and the gospel. But yeah, it just got all mother had, and then eventually they got G105 and 93.9 fell under them as well. I mean, it was crazy. It was like they basically had everything here.
Right,
Thank goodness for FCC rules. Even
right.
though they need to take it a little bit further and break some more of these clusters up a little bit more.
Right. And can we talk about the importance of what was Raycon Media, Jefferson Pilot Sports, and how those of us that grew up in ACC country, how vital it was for the explosion of ACC hoops, even ACC football, and how when that went away and now we have the ACC network pretty much ran on ESPN, that we're now seeing the death of the regionalization of conference sports in colleges, to where we're pretty much going to end up with super conferences and no longer with the regional tie-ins.
Well, I think it's gonna some of that what you're talking about, I think it's gonna come back with the NBA and baseball. As a matter of fact, it's already starting to come back. I don't know if you've seen the story yet, but the Phoenix Suns, they have already moved their games off of Bally Sports Networks because the company that owns the network has filed for bankruptcy.
Oh yeah, I heard that they were going belly up.
And yeah, and they can't afford to pay for the rights, so they're already moving the games over to a combination of streaming and a local TV station, like a My Network TV station or whatever. So I think that's going to be coming back here coming up this fall. You're not going to have the because Bally's is really the only regional sports network. NBC still has a couple in the larger markets, but like AT&T has folded their networks, and it's a couple of others. They just throwing their hands up and giving up. But yeah, man, today to the Raycom and ACC, we wouldn't be able to see any games if it wasn't for that, because at the time, well, when they first came along, it wasn't no ESPN, or ESPN was limited where they couldn't do but so many games. Now they do what? On any given college basketball night, they can do 6 games. 3 on ESPN, 3 on ESPN2, and probably 3 more on ESPNU. So they can have 12 live games going on at the same time. Where back then you didn't have that. So you had to have Raycom ACC network and Raycom SEC network. I think they did that. They did Big 12. Well, what was to be the Big 12? They did those two, and they had one more conference also that they did games for. But yeah, man. I was looking at a video clip from 1997 or 90. It was 97 because Tim Duncan was on the team, where it was a major rank, number 15 Wake Forest Demon Deacons against Maryland, against number 5 Maryland. I mean, stuff like that. Like, yeah, we used to see that on regular television. Nowadays, you wouldn't even know. That's not going to make it there. It's going to be on ESPN.
Yeah, because back when Raycom used to have their own call of the Carolina Duke game, it meant something special when you heard that Raycom Media and Jefferson Pilot Sports presents, and then you have the opening and closing billboards with Domino's, Coca-Cola in your local Coca-Cola bottle,
Yeah,
GT&E,
your Carolina Ford dealer.
BB&T, Food
Yeah,
Lion, First Citizens Bank, and
yeah, it
insert
was.
old North Carolina business here.
Yeah, it was a definitely a major deal in these parts where because that's what we watched. I mean, because all you had to do is be able to pick it up on the antenna. It was free. You know,
CPNL.
yeah, it was absolutely free. Put your antenna up and you could watch the games.
Right.
So you do know the first game they ever broadcast was I think Al Haskins told me it was 1952, and it was the Tar Heels national championship game. That was the first game they ever did
Yeah,
on
that was
television.
yeah, that was the game where they played against Kansas, right?
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't. He didn't tell me who they played against.
Woo, I'm asking you like you were
He
there.
just told me.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, he just told me it was Carolina. He didn't tell me who they played
yeah,
against.
I'm thinking it was the game where they played against Kansas because that was the start of Raycom
Yeah,
and
we
how
we
they
got.
pipe.
I gotta go look at the ACC documentary again.
Yeah,
I think they talked about it in that. It
yeah,
did. I think it did come up.
yeah, which was a good documentary, by the way, documenting the history of the ACC tournament. And it's my hope that the ACC network can follow the lead of the SEC network, like how they do with SEC Storied and True South, and really get these stories told about ACC hoops and ACC football, because they did a couple of good programs with Clemson's 81 championship team, about Georgia Tech's 1990 championship team for football. Then, of course, the 10-part docuseries on the history of the ACC tournament, which I thought was very brilliantly done.
Yeah, I think they did some stuff on Duke also.
Ugh.
So far, I'm pretty sure Carolina is not too far behind. One of the things that's kind of hurting them is they don't have Maryland. Maryland was in the conference for a long time, and now they're in the
Big
Big
Ten.
Ten.
Yeah, I believe Maryland was a
Yeah,
charter
so
member of
so
the
it's
ACC.
I don't know if was it a charter member?
Yeah, I think Maryland was a charter member of the ACC. It was
Okay,
Maryland,
well, I mean they may have
Carolina.
been.
Yeah, Maryland, Carolina, NC State, Virginia, originally South Carolina, was in the ACC, and it wasn't until I want to say maybe early in the mid '70s that's when they moved to the SEC.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah, I do know South Carolina was in with us, but yeah, yeah, you missing Maryland because they had a couple of national championships or national championship runs, and but they were a member of the ACC. So that's a story that you're really missing out on there, because they're not in the conference anymore.
Right. And
Um,
in Maryland, they had gotten some players from around North Carolina. I believe John Lucas was from right around Raleigh, Durham area. And then, of course, Buck Williams, who ended up playing in the league for years for the Portland Trail Blazers and other teams from Rocky Mount.
oh man, you gotta think about it. A lot of guys in the NBA now came from North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it for a minute. Kinston has produced, I know of at least two or three.
Yeah, that whole Kingston pipeline started from Cornbread Maxwell to Reggie Bullock, Brandon Ingram, Jerry Stackhouse. The list goes on and on of all those guys out of Kingston, Kobe White out of Goldsboro, Bam out of Bio, out of Little Washington. Locally towards our area, you had got Kent Bazemore from Bertie in the
Yeah.
league. And then of course Southside Virginia, you have Baron Stiff, played at Brunswick County High School in Virginia, and then the late Jerome Kersey, who was from Bluestone, Virginia, and then currently in the
Oh,
league.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Jerome Kersey was from Bluestone, Virginia, and then currently in the league you have from
Now,
South Hill, Virginia, played at Parkview. Keldon Johnson plays for the
now,
San
now,
Antonio
how you
Spurs.
going to mention Southside Virginia and not mention Moses Malone?
Oh yeah, I forgot Moses Malone from Petersburg.
Yeah, Petersburg High School.
Yep, and Tony Massenberg as well played in the league for years. Played at Maryland. He's from Stony Creek.
Yeah, and then of course, you got the 757 guys, the Hampton Roads area guy, the Allen Iversons, the
Like
Alonzo Mourning, and Joe
mm,
Smith, and who else came from over there? Mike Vick, of course.
Ronald Curry,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Lawrence
it's a
Taylor.
pipeline in this region.
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor.
Where did he go? Where he from?
Lawrence Taylor's from Williamsburg.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor's from
I
Williamsburg.
know he went to Carolina.
Yeah, he's from Williamsburg, and I think Bruce Smith is from that way too. Played for the Buffalo
Yeah,
Bills.
he is. Yep, he definitely. Yep, he sure is. Yep.
Yeah, Bruce Smith's from that way, and then also we can't forget Central Virginia, Russell Wilson from Richmond.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's from Richmond and stuff. So yeah, man. So North Carolina, Virginia, man, we cranked down a lot of talent here.
Yeah, and then of course, hopefully she'll get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year. Missy from the 757, Timberland
Yeah, Timberland,
757,
Pharrell,
Clips from that way, and
Teddy
also got
Riley.
Teddy Riley, Aldo from NY.
Out.
Set
Yeah, I
up
was about to say,
shop in
yeah, I think
Virginia
he stayed
Beach
down there.
with
Yeah.
Future Studios in the 757. Because you think about it, if it wasn't for him, there'll be no Neptunes.
Yeah. I know you said we are gonna talk about the 50 years of hip hop.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go
And
into it.
I'm about to make and you hear me make this argument before, and you can't disagree with me.
Uh-huh.
I'm about to make hip hop heads do cartwheels right now. You
Go
ready?
ahead. Go ahead.
MC Hammer is one of the top rappers, one of the top hip hop artists.
I will give that to you, and I know your
He
reason why.
just for the freaking reason he had a freaking cartoon. He had toys. Biggie ain't have that. Tupac ain't have that. Run DMC ain't have that. Eric B. Rakim didn't have that. MC Hammer did.
Yeah. Let's stop and let's think about what Hammer did, though. Please, Hammer Don't Hurt Him sold 10 million. Went diamond. The man was pushing KFC, pushing Pepsi, pushing British Knights.
Think about it like this. He went diamond when he was still relevant. I mean, yeah, other people did major numbers, but they did it over a long period of time. Look at the short amount of time he did it.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, he was only relevant maybe from what, 89 to
89 to about
89,
90, 90,
90 until about 94.
90.
What
Yeah,
that was when that's when he tried to go gangster, hanging around Tupac and stuff.
yeah, because that was when the Funky Headhunter album came out, and they
Yeah.
did It's
Got
All
pumps in
Good,
the
and
bump,
then
pumps in the
him and
bump.
Dion, they did that Straight to My Feet record for the Street Fighter soundtrack. The movie was
Yeah.
trash, but the soundtrack was bumping. But Hammer, though, if we think about the numbers that he did, it pretty much paved the way for rap to be pop now.
Yeah.
And also
Give
another rap group that I think a lot of people kind of glance at. You only see House Party, Class Act, but Kid and Play. I mean, Kid and Play had their own Saturday morning cartoon too.
They sure did. I forgot about that. They sure did. Yeah. I was yeah, because if you remember, it was Kid and Play, MC Hammer, and New Kids on the Block.
Mm-hmm.
They had a cartoon also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So yeah, give them their props, man. But it's like with the real hardcore hip hop heads, if you go too mainstream, they just cash you out. You're not hip hop anymore, you're pop. But I'm like, no.
mm-hmm.
If he wouldn't have did what he did, it wouldn't be no, no 90s boom that we had where you could turn to a top 40 radio station and it'll sound just like your urban hip hop station.
Yeah,
Trust me, I had that. I lived through that. Z104 in Norfolk was nothing but the white 103 jams. It was
which
basically the same records.
which pretty much is what we would know back then as Churban, but now call it Rhythmic
Yeah,
CHR.
yeah. I mean, that's basically all the way. It was basically the urban records with white DJs.
Yep. Yep.
And
Arm,
I and I
arm.
and I and everybody listened to it.
Yep.
So it really didn't.
Yep.
It
Urban.
really didn't matter. So, but yeah, man. But if it wasn't for a MC Hammer or Kid and Play and all of them, they wouldn't. I don't think hip hop would be as far along, and I know they don't get the credit that they deserve.
Yep. Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince too. I mean,
Yes.
regardless of what happened at the Oscars with him and Chris Rock, but Will Smith. I mean, if you look at Fresh Prince of Bel Air,
Yeah, he had the TV show. Yeah, the TV show.
that was really the first hip hop show on mainstream network TV,
And you and
and
you
he
know and
helped
you
spread the culture with the Jays.
and then on top of that, what was the what the second show was, right? That came behind it. LL Cool J in the house.
That's right.
Because if you remember, Fresh Prince went off and the house replaced it on NBC for a while before it went to UPN and then syndicated.
That's
So
right.
so it got LL Cool J on the map as an actor.
Right. And then if we look at Damon
And then
John and Shark Tank, and how if it wasn't for LL, we wouldn't know a FUBU. I mean, the man secretly plugged FUBU on a Gap ad.
yeah. So yeah, man, it's but it all starts somewhere. Yes, you should honor the pioneers, but you also got to honor these guys too. You got to look out. Hey, MC Hammer did major numbers, and I know they're gonna say, oh, it's not hip hop. That's not hip hop. I'm like, it sounded like hip hop to me. He was rapping,
Yeah.
so
I mean, I
it's
mean,
hip hop.
yeah, I mean, it wasn't, KRS-One, Rakim, or Public Enemy. It was hip hop, but it got you
It
into
was
doors that those other rappers couldn't get you to.
yeah, but they were doing what they call it, conscious
Yeah,
hip
conscious
hop, I guess
rap.
you would call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They was doing conscious rap. MC Hammer was fun. He was up there with the hammer pants. Doing the little I don't know what you called it, that little dance he did
It
where
was
he would just go from side to
Oh
side
yeah,
like that.
the typewriter. I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's
was
it.
leaving the gym the other day, and I heard "You Can't Touch This."
Man, if you play that at a party now, yo, oh, it would if you spring it at the right time, oh, it would go off. They
Yeah,
will lose their mind.
right. And I think another rapper too, who we're not mentioning, he had two big hits that got play on not only urban, top 40, but also rock as well because of the clever use of the rock samples. I believe that was headed by the guys over at Delicious Vinyl. And I believe Young MC co-wrote these two records for this guy. I'm talking about Tone Loc with Wild Thing and Funky Cole Medina, which probably would not fly in today's times, but it was a jam.
Yeah, Will. Come on, bro. We played Tony Braxton Making Me High. Go listen to the lyrics. Go listen to the lyrics. It leaves nothing to imagination. And I was like, we've been playing this song for 25 years and nobody has said nothing.
Right.
Come on, man. Listen to it.
Right. Which is crazy. And it was funny how back in 92.
Well, hold on. What is it? All night, you inside me. Come on, man. You go listen to the lyrics, but go now when you listen to it, you're gonna be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy? I didn't get that reaction until I heard that maybe, let me see, when did I flip to Urban AC? When I flipped to R&B in 2020, that's when I realized it. I would listen to the lyrics and I was like, oh my God, how we get away with that?
I mean, the 90s, it was a clever time where songwriters pretty much snuck in stuff and it flew in
that wasn't
over
no
our
sneaking.
heads.
Matter of fact, ain't that didn't Babyface do that song?
I think he did.
Yeah, he won't sneaking nothing on that one.
Yeah, I think Babyface did write that, but it was crazy. I was about to make the point how, like, let's say 92, folks was looking at Baby Got Back as obscene.
Nah, that was tame compared to Tony Braxton.
MTV wouldn't even play the video until after 9.
Well, it's like the Nelly Tip Drill video that we always talked about when we were in high school.
A BT
Uncut.
BT Uncut classic. You stay up after the late night airing of Comic View, 2:00 in the morning, you'll see that video.
There you go. That's a show BET need. You know what? We need to start a petition. Bring back Comic View.
Oh no.
We need more. I don't care about Uncut. I want Comic View.
Yeah.
I mean, why do I want? I mean, you can see BET Uncut on YouTube.
Yeah.
Comic View you can't see on YouTube.
Go ahead.
Look at the comedians that came off of that show.
You made my point.
Basically, everybody in our generation has came off of that show.
I mean,
and
Gary
now
Owen.
He was on that show.
Ricky
A lot of guys. Yep, Ricky was the host. Bruce, Lavelle Crawford.
Small
who's
Fry,
the other?
Montana Taylor.
Corey Holcomb.
Corey Holcomb was on Comic View.
Yeah. He was on the later years.
Oh yeah, D.L. Hughley, Cedric the Entertainer, Don DC Curley, Miss Laura. I mean, we could go down the list. It was like if you couldn't get on Def Comedy Jam, or if you did do Def Comedy Jam, Comic View was another outlet for you to go on.
Yeah, and like I said, it introduced a whole group of comedians, and now you got, once again, we talk about it. Now they're getting old. We've been seeing them for a long time. Yeah, you got Kevin Hart. And Cat Williams, they came up without it, but at the same time, we need a fresh crop of new blood. Yeah, I love Bruce as a comedian, but I can't see him ain't but so many more jokes he can do.
Right.
We need somebody else. Get some new blood in there.
Yeah, I think Cat Williams was on Comic View, but he went by a different stage name at the time. I think his stage name was Cat in the Hat or something like that, because I remember him being on Comic View. It's probably on YouTube somewhere. And how with Def Comedy Jam, a lot of soon-to-be famous comedians got their start on that show. And this gentleman, comedian, actor, I didn't know this until he talked about it recently. He used to be a dancer on Soul Train back in the day when he was making his way out in LA. But
who was that?
Fayetteville, North Carolina native, Avion Crockett.
I don't know him.
Yeah, he was on Wild 'N Out for a couple of years with Nick Cannon. He was in the movie Soul Man with Samuel Jackson, Bernie Mac in his last film, also Isaac Hayes' last film too. But yeah, he was a young comic, got his start on Def Comedy Jam, and how it was where you really had to be on point on Def Comedy Jam.
I guess Wildin' Out would be the Def Comedy Jam, Comic View equivalent. Because a couple of guys did come out of that. DC Young Fly came off of that.
Carlos
You know,
Miller,
yeah,
Chico Bean.
quite a few did come off of that. But I'm like, we still need Comic View.
Right, right. And it's crazy how, when Wild 'N Out came on, the season that B Dot was on, to see him, Chico Bean, and Darren Big Baby Brand on there, and how all of them have ties to the Triad, the Greensboro, and just saying how it was cool to see all those guys like, yo, these guys were up doing the Comedy Zone, Arizona Pete's, and the other spots in Greensboro, to where, they're on Wildin' Out. And of course, Nick Cannon got NC ties as well.
What NC ties he got? A
Uh,
baby. He probably got a baby here.
I think he's from Charlotte, I want to say.
Or he say live in Charlotte, or he from Charlotte?
I think he split time between Charlotte and somewhere else. Don't quote me, but he has ties to North Carolina. I know for
Oh, okay.
sure.
I told you he probably got a baby here.
Yeah, not in that way, but it's crazy kind of see the similarities with all the folks from North Carolina that's out and doing their thing. Now back to the Peacock Network. Do you think NBC can get back the rights to the NBA from ESPN and ABC?
Anything is possible. Money talks. And you got to think NBC don't have a whole lot of money tied up into a whole bunch of sports properties like an ESPN has. And I think what's going to happen is because Discovery is trying to cut stuff. They got too big for their britches, and now they're trying to cut everything they can.
Mhm.
And in their eyes, the NBA doesn't get them the ratings that they want, even though it's probably one of the top 2 or 3 shows that's on the network, even though the games probably don't get but maybe 700,000 to 1 million people per game.
Mm.
But I'm like, that's typical NBA because into the playoffs because it's so many games. But yeah, they're shelling out a whole lot of money, and they're talking like they're not going to try to. They're probably going to keep it, but it's not going to be as big of a package. So that's going to open the door for NBC, USA Network, that group of channels to try to pick up some games. Now is it going to be on the NBC network? I don't know. It depends on if ABC says, hey, they can carry games. I think they do have it exclusive where ABC if a network gets the game, it's going to be ABC. But don't sleep on CBS too.
Oh, yeah, because I remember. Well, this was probably right at the tail end because I was born in '85, so I don't really remember CBS coverage of the NBA. That was primarily during the Magic Bird era. So I pretty much came up from NBA on NBC forward, from Jordan's
Yeah,
Bulls
they
forward. But I remember CBS having the NBA coverage during Magic and Bird.
yeah they had it until 1990, which would be the Pistons' second championship
And
with
then
the
that was
Bad
when
Boys.
that was when NBC took over.
Yeah, and then the next year NBC took over with the Bulls winning their first championship. But yeah, CBS had it before. But yeah, don't sleep on them. Not getting it because I'm pretty sure they want to get some content for not only a matter of fact, CBS already has a WNBA contract.
Hmm.
They already carry WNBA games, so for them to carry NBA games, they already in. You know, just a
Right,
matter of putting up the money.
right. And you mentioned how you think the localization with the sports teams is coming back around to the time of Learfield Sports, Raycom, Jefferson Pilot. It kind of brings me back to when the Superstation, TBS or WTBS or WGN used to air Braves and Bulls games respectfully, and you get all the games
Yeah,
on the
that's
Superstation.
why the Bulls were so popular in the '90s because you could see every single game that they had between TBS, TNT, and
WGN.
Because of course, if they played like Indiana or LA or somebody like that, they always carried, the games nationally. And then of course you could see it on WGN, if your cable company had it or if it was on silent. And I think back in the day, it was on most cable companies. So yeah,
Mhm.
every single Bulls game was on television. Now, yeah, I saw the Hornets games. That was actually on TV in Norfolk, believe it or not. They were the UPN, what was to be the UPN affiliate, always showed the Hornets games over there. So I always saw them.
That's weird because I would think that Tidewater area, you all be closer to Bullets Wizards Market, being closer to
Well,
DMV.
Bullets was on cable. They were on Home Team Sports, and they did have that you could see the Bullets, but like on over the air television, they showed they showed they showed the Panthers over there. They show the preseason games over there. Of course, Washington is the main one, but I think the ABC affiliate carries the Panthers preseason games, and I think somebody else carried Baltimore. I think it's the Mind Network 33 carries the Baltimore preseason games.
Hmm. That's kind of sort of interesting now that you mentioned, because the Tidewater area of Virginia is an interesting market because you're straddling in between DMV and possibly on the fringe of Charlotte, because you mentioned Ravens preseason games being aired, Panthers preseason games being aired, and then the Commanders at the time, formerly Native American racial slur, used to air
Supposedly.
on supposedly Daniel Snyder, please sell.
Yeah,
And
the ones I talk to don't see it as that.
mhm.
And I do work in the Native American population, and I have talked to them about it. So
Mm, yeah, which is crazy, but with the TV demographics, it overlaps because with where you used to live in North Carolina over by Gates County, how they would be in the Hampton Roads DMA, but you won't see Wavy TV10, TKR, WVC come and do a story out in Gates, Hertford, Currituck,
they
Camden.
do, they
They do.
do, yeah. You remember the rule we used to have at WNVN when we used to work at the radio station. If
Refresh
it
me.
bleeds, it leads.
Oh yeah.
No matter where it's at, that's the rule. If it bleeds, it leads. So yeah, of course, if your city council decided they're gonna dig up the water well down at the church, yeah, that's not gonna be on the news. But if somebody gets shot, that's gonna be on the news for sure. As a matter of fact, they just covered the story, some shootings in a hosky, not too far from over there. So
Wow.
so yeah, if it bleeds, they will cover it. But yeah, your everyday local stuff, yeah, they're not gonna do all that.
Yeah, which made WMVN back in our hometown area very important because it told stories in and around the Roanoke Valley that WRAL, WTVD, WPTF, WNCT, WITN wasn't going to cover.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They covered the major stories because I can remember one time before. I think we had just shut the TV station down, and it was like a major shooting in Weldon, the town that the actual radio station was in, and the town hall was right across the street from the radio station. And it was one day I went out to go to lunch, and I couldn't get down the street because it was nothing but TV trucks. It was I think it was Channel 5 and Channel 11. They had their actual big live broadcast trucks, and Channel 7 just had a 7 and 9 just had cameras, and I think 17 was here also, and Spectrum News, which is kind of like if you're in New York City, New York, what is it, New York News One or whatever it's called. That's our Spectrum News. But yeah, when I went out there and yeah, so if it's something major, they will come out here and cover it. But if it's something, like your city council made this decision, the school board made this decision, yeah, it's probably not going to make it to it's not going to make it to Raleigh
Yeah.
or to Greenville or to Norfolk, So yeah, the local station, the local TV station like that did, it did have a role. And I think local TV stations like that can really make some money in a small town if you do it right.
Right. You got to have good presentation. You got to have good content. You got to have good
And
programming. Because I
yeah,
remember, in being in middle school and high school, when WNVN would come and do their own version of Football Friday, which was Sports Talk Live, I used to look forward to looking at that because I remember actually seeing Mark Matthews at a game at Northampton West when they were playing North Edgecombe. Told him, hey, I want
yeah,
to be a TV personality or whatever. He let me go on and do a quick little hit.
yeah. By the time I started, they didn't do Sports Talk Live no more. We just kind of on Friday night we just redid the sports telecast and inserted the Friday football scores. But if you remember, that's how I got my on air start with the Friday football. Is my hair chopped off? Yeah, hold on one second. I'm blending into the background. Wait a minute. Let me change my background.
Go.
Okay, yeah. So if you remember, that's how I got my start because we would send 4 or 5 guys out to get video of the various games. And what we would do was they would call back and give me the score of the game, and I would try to relay it to Mark, who was on the air. And sometimes he would hear me, and sometimes he wouldn't. He would hear the score wrong and all that kind of stuff. So I said, you know what? Let's just eliminate the third guy. You give me the scores, and I go on the air and read them. And then, when I come back from commercial break, I would, hey, here's a quick score update from the Weldon High School game. Weldon is up 14-7 over Northampton West, and Northwest Halifax. They're winning over Roanoke Rapids right now, 10-0. Back out to you, Mark, and send it back to him. That's basically what I did, and that's how I got my start. And that, and
Yeah.
that actually became my sports broadcasting start.
Yeah, typically that was how you got into radio in those days, where if your station ran local high school coverage, you were either board opping or doing like what he demonstrated was giving a quick hit of the score rundown in your local area.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that was the fun days, and now I'm the one doing the broadcast. Believe
Yeah,
it or
so
not.
what's it like for you when you mentioned you started off just reading off the scores and relaying them back on air to doing play by play?
It actually came pretty easy to me because you can't sit back and listen to what did I run? God, I ran a lot of stuff. I did the high school football on what was a sports station at the time, WCBT 1230 AM. So I did that. I did the scores. Then I did Carolina. So I hear Woody Durham every single Saturday. I did um I did Duke at the same time. Yeah, I ran Carolina and Duke football at the same time. Um I forgot who did those games. Um then you turn around and later on I did NC State, and then I did University of Virginia. So hearing all those different play-by-play guys, then of course on TV, you got your guys like Marv Albert and Kevin Harlan and Iron Eagle and Jim Nance, of course. You got those guys, you hear it all the time. So I've been hearing play-by-play, and I was always intrigued by it. I just never tried to do it. And finally, you know the radio station actually had to beg me when I was on vacation to do the high school football games. And finally I said, you know what? I'll go ahead and do it. Why not? They was like, you ain't got to do the whole season, because I really didn't want to do the whole season. And once I got out there in the first quarter, probably the second quarter, I realized, you know what? This is actually pretty fun. And it just came natural,
Right.
believe
And
it or not. And
yeah,
now that's branched off to I've done a couple of college games. I did a football game. I did analyst for football. Can you imagine somebody that never played football doing analyst for football? That's weird,
ooh,
right?
you could be the next Dan Orlovsky. Break it down, please.
So yeah, I did that for Barton College. I did one game for them, and then I got up with Big Sports TV, and we've been doing high school basketball here across Eastern North Carolina. And I started off as the analyst, and then sometimes we didn't have a play-by-play guy, so I kind of moved over now into the play-by-play chair. So I do football from August until basically what, November. I get a month off in December, and then this, late December, January, February, I'm doing high school basketball.
Yeah, yeah. Play by play. That's one aspect of broadcasting I haven't really dipped my toe in. I did.
You did a game with me. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, that's right. The game from it was Halifax Academy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like I don't know how they do their division. It was kind of like it was JV. It was a step below JV. It's the best way to explain it.
Yeah, because I think I remember that game because I made a helmet sticker reference on
Yeah,
one of the calls.
and they had like what, like four kick returns in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Back to back to back to back.
Ooh, somebody
So
didn't
yeah,
didn't didn't avoid it. Yeah,
you've done it, and I'm even to the point where, like, you know what, if an opportunity arises where I could do more play by play and make some decent money, of course, hey, I'm willing to do it. Hey, let's go for it.
yeah, which makes it all the more important. You mentioned Jim Nance and how this year was his final time calling the Final Four,
Is he
and
is he leaving football too, or he just leaving the final? He just dropping basketball?
I think he's just dropping basketball. And I
Okay.
was going to ask you, who do you think is going to end up taking his spot for calling the Final Four now that he's no longer
Oh,
doing that?
they already announced this. Iron Eagle.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking it was going to be
Yeah.
Iron Eagle.
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't be nobody but either Iron Eagle or Kevin Harlan, but I don't think Kevin Harlan really wants it.
Right.
You
Right.
know, so
Yeah. Yeah. It just makes us want to cherish those that have been doing it for a long time, that's still in it, to just really savor it. I mean, we got to cherish Dickie V.
yeah, definitely, man. And I hope one day ESPN and CBS can work something out where he can do a Final Four and national championship. That would be great. Put icing on the cake for him, I think.
Yeah, that'll be awesome, baby. Saying so and
Even
so's a PTP or a diaper dandy.
even though I think a lot of people don't like him, but I appreciate the enthusiasm. I
I
mean,
like
when
Dickie
you
V.
yeah, I like him too. When you hear guys, I mean, I'm sorry, Mark Jackson, sometimes he just sounds like he is not enthused about the game at all. And Chris Webber, towards the end of his run with TNT, oh my God, he sounded like he just woke up. He sounded
Mm,
like Kevin Harlan just tapped him on the arm, and he woke up to say something. It's like, dude, like, show some enthusiasm. So show some, show some excitement.
right. And you mentioned
You
Woody
know,
Durham and how he was the legendary play-by-play man for Carolina, and how it was where some people, they would have their TV on, put it on mute, and just have Woody's call over the game.
yeah, they did that with NASCAR too. A lot of people did. They would cut the TV audio off and do the MRN of well, yeah, I guess it was MRN only, but now you can't do that. You
Explain
definitely can't
MRN
do
for
it
our
nowadays,
audience.
huh? Oh,
Explain.
Motor Racing Network.
Okay.
Yeah. The it's the primary network for all the NASCAR races.
Right.
So, but yeah, nowadays you can't do it because actually, I think the radio is actually going to be further ahead than what the TV is.
About how much of a delay is it between the radio call and what we see on TV?
Um, what happened? It was a couple of years ago. I think it was like 2011, 2012. I was listening to the Washington game on the radio because we had them on the radio back then. And I think Fox, I think the Panthers game had ended early and their game was going down to the wire late,
And they cut to it.
and they cut over to it. Let's just say I hear what was going to happen on the radio about a good full 10 to 15 seconds before I saw it on TV.
Mm,
Because back then that's what I would do. I would actually listen to Washington on the radio, but on the TV I just mute the volume and I would have whatever, I would have either Carolina game on, or most of whatever game that was on CBS was on the TV.
Right.
So I'd
Yeah.
be listening to one game, watching another.
Yeah, I'm like, too bad the NBA don't have that rule where if the game's a blowout, you can just cut away, go to something else. But I think it's because of the NBA's lack of
Yeah, they
multiple
don't do
games
regional.
being
Yeah, they don't
played
do.
that you
Yeah,
can't
they
do
don't do regional games.
cutaways.
Yeah, they don't do regional games because you can get better ratings if everybody see the same thing
Mm,
versus if it's split up. That's why you don't see college football don't split anymore like it used. Like, I mean, they just recently stopped doing the college football splitting on the afternoon games. Of course, at night everybody see the same thing.
oh yeah, because I think I remember because it used to be based on what region of the country you were in. Like certain
Yeah,
parts of the country we see this game, another part would see that game, and then like you said, if it was a primetime game, everybody saw it.
yeah. You usually the ABC 3:30 game would be a regional game, but the thing was, if your ABC affiliate didn't have the game up there, it would be like on ESPN2.
Mm,
So yeah, they don't do the split broad. And the NFL is the only one that does the multiple regional games at the same time, and it actually works for them.
right.
Anybody else I think baseball does it. Baseball still do it on Fox.
Oh, the regional
The
split.
Yeah, the Saturday afternoon games. Because, like, for example, I think today it was the Braves and somebody, and then it was like Kansas City and whatever from the Central Time Zone will have a game. So of course we're gonna have the Braves game over here, and then everywhere else will have the other game.
Right. And speaking of NFL, what's your thoughts on them moving over to YouTube TV for Sunday Ticket, and why do you think they have not came up with an option to do a team pass and just
Because
forcing the whole package on everybody?
because they greedy and small minded. Do I need to say more?
Yeah, because you would make more money if you just did a team pass. Whereas if I don't want to
Yes.
watch the full Sunday Ticket package, I just want to follow maybe one or two teams. Just pay an
Yes.
X amount of fee
And
so I could
and
just
if you
stream the team's games for the season and also allow replay of the game too.
yeah, and if you came and told me, CJ, you can pay $100 a year. I see the Commanders games anyway. I'm not gonna tell you how I do it, but I see them anyway. But but yeah, if you came to me and said, hey, $150 a year, and you can see every single Commanders game as long as it's not shown locally, or on a national game or what, as long as your local affiliate is not showing the game, yes, I'll pay for it. You know, and that's $150. Well, now you're trying to force $300 on me. I'm like, I don't think I want to pay $300 for that, especially when I can see it for free.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't do that
Can't tell
either.
you how, but I can see it for free.
Yeah, he has ways, but it's crazy out here in New Mexico since you're not really having a pro sports affiliate in the state. Your closest affiliate would be the Cardinals or the Suns, Broncos, maybe being secondary market, Dallas
Cowboys.
third. But for the Suns games, certain games, if it's on NBA TV, it'll show everywhere else, but it'll be blacked out in New Mexico. It won't show.
Yeah, because they want you to turn to the local channel or the regional channel and watch it. It's just like here, if the Hornets play on NBA TV, then I can't watch it. I have to watch it on Bally's or Fox Sports South or whatever network they want to be on this week.
Yeah, because
So
yeah, because the Suns are on Bally's, but Bally's is not on Dish.
yeah, of course. So you just yeah, I mean, you can subscribe to Bally's. So they basically trying to force you to go to the local carrier of the game. You can't see it on the national carrier.
Mm. Now, do you think it'll come to a point in time in all sports that you'll see blackouts be a thing of the past?
I think so. I think we heading that way. Once the regional networks go away, I think that's going to be a thing of the past. At this point, I'm surprised the NFL hasn't really done it yet. Um, I think the NFL is the only one that has the model where it's not going to go away, but for baseball and for NBA, I think it's going to go away eventually.
Yeah, because the
And you
black
know, and you know, going back to the NFL and the buying teams, you know, the NBA League Pass, you can buy one team.
oh,
Like if I wanted to see all the San Antonio Spurs games, I can just buy the Spurs games. I think baseball does the same thing. If you just want to see the Florida Marlins, I don't know why you want to see them, but anyway, you can just buy the Florida Marlins games.
so they got a team package where instead of buying the whole package, you just do one team or two teams and just stream all their games.
Yeah, yeah, you can stream all their games for like $15 a month,
Yeah,
you know, something like that.
and I think another thing that hurts the NFL too is where even though you have NFL Plus and some of the other apps and other networks, you're still tied to what game is aired in your region. If they were
Yeah.
to just get rid of that regional lock, then I think the NFL will make more money.
But then again, you would have to do kind of like what college basketball does. You would have to show well with the NCAA tournament. You would have to show every game national.
Oh
And
yeah, have it spread across, but NFL they don't have multiple channels where you can stream all of the one
yeah,
o'clock, all of the 4 o'clock games to be
it's
able to
not
say,
so much. It's not so much the NFL. You really don't have a network, or you don't have a network that has enough channels to really show all those games unless CBS do what they do with Turner, where okay, we have a game on CBS at 1 o'clock, we'll have a game on CBS, we'll have a game on an AFC game on TBS, one on TNT, one on True TV, and then 4 o'clock, you know, CBS might not have a game, but the cable channels will have some AFC games. And you could do the same thing with well, Fox couldn't do it because Fox don't own that many networks anymore.
mm,
The only network that could possibly do it would be ABC at this point,
mm,
and maybe NBC could do it.
right,
You got to have enough channels to be able to put 4 or 5 games on at the same time.
right. And speaking of Fox, let's talk about how a game changer Fox was, because this was 86 and nobody thought that a network could challenge the big three. I mean, they had Dumont back in the 50s and that went up in smoke. But for a new channel to come in, pretty much have programming that was quirky, original, they found their footing with 21 Jump Street, Married with Children, Ullman Show, and they gave us these shorts that morphed into a satirical animated series that's still airing to this day, The
Yeah,
Simpsons.
I was about to say when you think of Fox, the first show I think of is The Simpsons
The,
because it's
the
been
house,
on for 30 years.
yeah, the house that Bart built.
I mean, you think about it, the entire network was built around
The
The Simpsons,
Simpsons. Mm-hmm.
you know, because
Definitely agree.
I bet you don't even remember The Simpsons started on Thursdays.
Yeah, it was on Thursdays. Then they moved
And
to what,
then it moved to
Sundays?
the Sundays, then it moved it back to Thursdays, then it went back to Sundays again and stayed there permanently.
Right. And let's also give Fox credit too, because they changed the way we watch Super Bowl halftime shows. Because in Living Color, they did a halftime show to counter the actual halftime show during the Super Bowl. They had Color Me Bad perform and they had their skits. And it was because of people switching from CBS to Fox. It caused the next year when they did the Super Bowl halftime show on NBC to get the King of Pop.
Yeah. And you gotta think too, Fox just took risk. You know, they went out there and said, you know what, we gonna outbid everybody on getting the NFC package from CBS. And that's what they did. They went and it really paid off because now look at them. Basically, Fox is built off of the Simpsons and the NFL.
Yeah, and also
If they would not have gotten the NFL, they would be in the same sentence as UPN, WB, and CW.
right.
They would
And
be on that level. They would not have gotten as big as they are now.
right. And to
And
think
then and
about,
then And then also they had a affiliate swap. They had a lot of affiliate swaps in the mid to late 90s that helped them out a whole lot too.
Right. And to think about when they got the NFC package, that they were able to get John Madden and Pat Summerall.
Yeah, they put it all out there and got the top. Like I said, they threw the money out there and it paid off for 'em. I mean, look at it. It paid off for them. Now you're number 4, and depending on what night it is, you number 1,
Right.
you
Because
know?
yeah, because this was around the time too, like you mentioned, that the NFC package went from CBS to Fox, and I think AFC at that time it was on NBC when they
Yeah, it's still on
initially
NBC.
had NFL coverage, and then they lost the AFC package, and now it's at CBS. And NBC didn't get back into the NFL until when they got the Sunday night football coverage from ESPN.
Oh man, it was one point NBC had nothing but Olympics and the Arena Football League and figure skating and golf. That's all they had at one point. They had nothing major. Like I think at the time we talking early 2000s, because yeah, that was when that was when the NBA left. After the NBA left, they had nothing. And Notre Dame, they had Notre Dame.
Yeah, which is why Notre Dame probably won't join full time in another conference because they want to keep all of that football money to themselves and not split it with another
Well,
conference.
well, they have Notre Dame home games.
Mm,
You know, the road games is whoever they're playing against.
mm.
But yeah, man. But yeah, that was a big thing. And look out for CW too.
Oh, they got live golf and
Yeah, they got the live tour, and
oh live.
they were looking. I can't remember who it was. Pac-12 was possibly looking at CW
I mean,
to carry the games.
CW is just like the leftover stuff in the fridge that you forgot about and didn't want to eat. But
I don't know.
the
They got some pretty good shows, but it's just that they target slightly younger than what Fox and NBC and CBS and ABC targets.
Yeah, because I only watch CW for All American and for Homecoming. So if you say if they change
Yeah.
their demo marketing, then they could probably get a broader reach.
Yeah, they probably will be. You'll see. I think you'll slowly see it over time where they're going to be changing that demo up. But another some other big contracts is coming up sports wise. WWE contract is coming up
And
as well.
so you think they could possibly leave Peacock?
Um, that's a possibility. It could be going to. I mean, because here's what you got to think about. They are owned by the UFC, the company that owns the UFC now.
Mm-hmm.
So they're already heavily in bed with ESPN. So it wouldn't be nothing for them to switch their stuff from NBC Universal to ESPN. I mean, imagine uh Monday Night Raw will be on ESPN too, you
Mm,
know,
I
instead of on USA, or Friday Night SmackDown will be on ESPN too, or ESPN for that matter, because I think once you get around the summertime, they're not gonna have anything on Friday nights. Of course, when NBA season going on, they can't be on. So it could be WWE on ESPN too.
right. I just thought about like Scott Van Pelt showing up on SmackDown or Monday Night Raw, doing a hit to generate some heat, and then
Yeah,
getting put in
but
somebody's finisher.
but honestly, if you sit back and try to cover WWE as a legitimate, I mean, it is a sport, but it's really it's really a scripted show. Um, as a wrestling fan, I think it makes ESPN look silly because we all know it's scripted.
Mm,
How can you, a company that's supposed to covers legit sports, now you're going to cover something that's scripted?
I mean,
So yeah, Scott Van Pelt doing all of that, I don't see that coming, but having it on as a part of ESPN's programming, I could see that happening.
I
Remember,
mean,
I mean, ESPN had wrestling before.
yeah, I mean, Stephen A. Smith will make a great heel.
Oh my God. No, keep your no. Keep your personality, your ESPN personalities over here. And like I said, it's just a part of the network.
I was just
You
picturing
know,
Stephen A.
I
being
mean,
somebody's manager.
just because it's on Fox, you don't have Sean Hannity and Tucker. Well, I guess Tucker Carlson can't do it now. You're not gonna have them walking out there on WWE. No, keep them separate. No, it's two separate deals. Okay, we just gonna be on the network. We don't need to see Stephen A. Smith coming over here. You know, we already got enough craziness, celebrities.
Mhm.
We already got Bad Bunny. We don't need nobody else right now.
Right. Don't make it too much of a gimmick. And last thing I want
Yeah.
to get you up out of here on. We talked about hip hop, being 50 and the performance at the Grammys, and you mentioned MC Hammer and what he meant to hip hop. Can we talk about what took place last month in Raleigh at Dorothea Dix Park with Dreamville and how they pretty much attracted everybody from around the world to come to the Triangle, and
Yeah.
people came up really nice on Airbnb or if you were in the hospitality industry for that weekend.
Man, that was a nice come up for everybody in that situation. And no incidents. That's the most important part. Zero incidents. That hold on a second. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let's do
Thank you, North
there we go.
Carolina. Thank you for having us not be in the news for the wrong reasons, at least. I'm looking at you, Rocky Mount.
Exactly. So yeah, I saw a lot of people was out there. I'm not a big festival guy, you know. I just that's just too many people. I think they said it was 100,000 people out there.
Nope.
I'm like
I'm,
that's just too many people for me.
nope. I'll just watch the live stream.
Yeah, I'll do a football game, but outside of that, nah, that's just too many people, man. That's just too many. But I'm just glad it came off. It worked out well. And matter of fact, they got another festival today. It's something in the Water Festival in Virginia is back in Virginia Beach.
Mm.
Now. So yeah, that was taking place yesterday and today. So I seen some people. I haven't seen as many people on my let me look at my Facebook feed. Haven't seen as many Facebook people on my Facebook feed down there. But yeah. I'm just glad everything went well. Everything went good. Everything was smooth. Usher showed up hanging out in Chapel Hill. I don't know why he wanted to be in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, I mean, it's Usher, but every time I see Usher, I just think about that Boondocks episode where Thomas Dubois ends up smacking him in the face.
Oh my goodness, I forgot about the Boondocks.
Why you gotta hit Usher? Every time I see that
Oh, and
man.
and,
I
and speaking of that, I'm going down my feed, and what's the first thing I see? Good Burger 2. They're looking to
Ooh,
cast some extras.
you should do that.
Start filming in May.
You should do
I
that.
wonder. I wonder where they're filming at. Hold on, let me see where they're filming at.
You could be angry customer number two.
Oh shoot, they filming in Rhode Island. Why would you film in Rhode Island of all places?
Hey, I don't know. Maybe they get good tax credits, but NC screwed themselves when they got rid of that tax credit, and that's how Georgia ended up getting all of the TV and film productions when NC got rid of that tax credit. Because if you think about back in the day, Wilmington was the epicenter of all the WB teen drama shows. You had Dawson's Creek, One Tree Hill, and I Know What You Did Last Summer. And I think I still know what you did last summer. I think both of those were shot down in Wilmington as well.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, actually, I think quite a few shows are still shot in North Carolina.
Mm. Color Purple was shot
So
in Wilmington too. For those that don't know,
Color Purple.
yeah,
I
yeah,
never, I
yeah,
never really liked that movie.
yeah. Color Purple was shot down in Wilmington, North Carolina. And for those of you that don't know about Wilmington, of course, it was the hometown of the greatest to ever step on a basketball court, number 23, Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Somebody just said LeBron James,
LeBron James, what?
the greatest to ever step on the court. You
LeBron,
know, some people feel that way.
well, LeBron's top five. I mean,
You
who would have
you
thought
know.
that? Who would have thought that he would have broken Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's scoring record, still producing numbers 20 plus years in? And I mean, the boy is bad.
I'm I'm not surprised. Why would you be surprised?
I mean, because nobody would expect for LeBron to still be playing like he is at 20 years in and being on
Here,
the
here's the
downside of his
here's the
career.
here's the secret. They have a 3-point shot.
Okay.
Kareem didn't. I mean, Kareem for part of his career, they didn't even have a 3-point line for his early years.
Right.
And then he couldn't shoot. He couldn't shoot no more than 10 feet from the. That's why his is honestly, I think his record should stand out a little bit more because he did it 15 foot inside. I
But the
mean, LeBron had threes.
Yeah, I mean, the game was built inside out back in those days where you would build around a big man. I mean, you look at Steph
That's why.
and what Steph doing and how you got kids saying, forget being like Mike. I want to be like Steph and shoot from 30 feet.
Yeah, that's why. And yes, I call kids out on high school basketball for trying to play like that too.
I
You
mean,
know,
just
because
because Steph
that's
and
what they.
Dame can do it,
Yeah,
don't mean you can too.
yeah, that's what they do, run up and down the floor, jacking up threes, and I'm like, come on, y'all, really? But that is why Wilt Chamberlain's numbers is so amazing because he scored all. I mean, he scored 100 points in a game, and remember, they didn't have no 3-point line, so he did it on twos and ones.
Mm,
You know,
right,
so
right.
so
And,
yeah, I give LeBron James credit, but at the same time, I mean, Kareem did it without shooting threes, and Wilt did it without shooting threes.
right, right. And speaking of LeBron, he released a teaser of a biopic that's going to be coming out this summer about him and his friends that they played at St. Vincent St. Mary's together. And it's crazy to see, like, man, we witnessed LeBron getting drafted in '03 to being 20 years in, all-time leading scorer, and
Being
still
drafted, we saw him in
still
high
playing
we
at
saw
high
him
level.
playing high school games.
Yeah, but which is crazy because, like I said, LeBron is about what, a year or two older than us.
Yeah, he's on a year or two older than us. Yeah,
So it's crazy to kind of see his transformation from the beginning to where he is now, to
yeah.
where
We
he's going to be hanging on to when Bronny comes into the league, probably for the next year or two.
I think Bronny's a senior right now, and I think I hear he was going to Ohio State, so he'll be there for a year. So yeah, within the next 2 years, he'll be in the league
Yeah, which is
playing
crazy because somebody
playing
had
for the
thought,
Hornets.
woo, but the Hornets look like they're probably trying to get Big Vic, but I'm thinking Big Vic's going to go to the Spurs.
The Hornets, man, they got a mess on their hands. They got too many good players on the team, but it just can't mount to anything. So they're gonna have to figure out if they're gonna restart or whatever.
I mean, Ball has probably got some U-Haul boxes in the Mayflower truck already waiting outside.
I mean, if it's one guy you're gonna keep, it needs to be him. And they already made a mistake with Kimball Walker and not paying him and letting him walk and go
Mm,
elsewhere. So yeah, you can't let another franchise guy walk out the door if you Mitch Kupchak.
right.
And
And speaking of mismanaging, we were talking about before we started, and this is the last thing about Bryce Young, who went #1 overall to the Carolina Panthers, and how we were saying, at least me, that if they would have took the same approach when they drafted Cam Newton in 2011, we probably would have won that 2015-16 Super Bowl.
yeah, possibly. Let's see, that was the one that played the Broncos, right?
Yeah, that was when
Yeah, yeah,
Jericho
that was
Cotchery made that catch, but they didn't call it a catch.
yeah. That was the one. That was the Super Bowl where Cam basically did everything he could, but nobody showed up but him.
It was
You
like the
know,
LeBron Cavaliers with no help when they went
yeah,
to the
it
finals and
was.
got dog walked by the Spurs.
Yeah, it was like they just kind of they were dropping. I mean, even Greg Olson was dropping passes. I mean, when have you seen that? Yeah, but yeah, the Cam Newton situation kind of changed a lot of things. I think because I think that's the reason why Washington doesn't have a young quarterback, or we don't have we won't go to the top of the won't move up in the draft order so we can get one of the young guys, because I don't think Ron Rivera wants to go through what he had to do with Cam Newton and kind of had to teach him how to be a pro. Because, Cam Newton, he was a handful to deal with, especially like in the post game interviews after they lost and stuff like that. Where you talking about routes. You a female. You talking about routes. That's funny. Like, dude, shut up. Just answer the question.
Yeah, I
Did
mean,
you have to say that?
yeah, I mean, Belt missed out on the golden opportunity to do a men's clothing line with Cam.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, he was definitely a different dresser, but yeah, man, what a career he could have had. Noodle arm, but now he's noodle arm Newton.
Yeah, Cam is washed, and hopefully he could just ride off into the sunset, go where his cigar bar is in Atlanta, manage that. He's gonna be in the Hall of Fame, but I'm thinking the approach that Carolina is using with Bryce, making sure that he has pieces around him, says that, hey, we're serious
It
about building for the long term. And I'm
it
thinking
would
they're trying to go the route of the Kansas City Chiefs with Mahomes.
it would be nice if they could have kept DJ Moore in place,
They wanted to,
but
but Poles was
yeah, they
like,
had to
no deal.
they had to trade him to move up. So yeah, so that one kind of hurt. And another thing with the Panthers, I wish Steve Wilkes would have got the job.
But I was on the Wilkes train too. I was a little bit salty at first when Wright got hired, but once he had his introductory press conference, laid out his vision for the team, and then put together the staff that he did, I was like, okay, we got some folks.
I mean, I don't, I don't have no opinion on Frank Wright, but I'm like, hey, your players, the players wanted Steve Wilkes. They played for him and almost got him into the playoffs. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, because I'm thinking if they would have backdoored into the playoffs, Wilkes would have had the job.
They would have had to give him the job. They would have had no choice but to give him the job. I'm like, and honestly, they should have gave him the job because he got darn near close.
But he gonna be all right though. I mean, he's in San Francisco as their DC, taking over for D'Amico Ryans, who's the Texans head coach. But I'm thinking next head coaching cycle, Wilkes will be a head coach somewhere because I'm thinking Arthur Smith's time is up in Atlanta.
And I'm gonna make a prediction. I think in Eric Bieniemy is gonna be Washington's next head coach.
Oh, that's right, because he's what, OC.
Yeah, he's
And
offensive coordinator. That's
yeah,
probably why
I'm thinking that too.
yeah, that's probably why he went ahead and took the Washington job, because hey, new ownership coming in, you don't know what's going to happen. They might say, you know what, coaching wise, hey, let's get a fresh slate. Let's get rid of everybody, but let's interview Eric Bieniemy because he might, hey, let's look at what the offense did. So if he can work with Sam Howell and get Sam Howell as a, pretty good quarterback and get the offense moving, I think he would be in line to be the next coach because, Ron Rivera, he's not getting any younger. He's pushing 60. He's been through a lot with that team, and I give him credit. He's gotten it out of the mud,
Mm-hmm.
and gotten the football side. I mean, we got a lot of good young players. We got Scary Terry. We got Jonathan Allen, and Deron Payne, of course, Montez Sweat, and I don't know what Chase Young is going to be, but we got a Cam Curl, the safety. We just drafted a corner the other night that I think he's going to be pretty good in the long run. So we got a lot of got running backs for days. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll definitely see this season, and you know that the Bryce is right in Charlotte. So before we
Oh
conclude
God,
it,
here we go.
yeah. So before we conclude the interview, man, any shout outs you want to give and plug your socials?
Yeah, you can follow me on social media at CJ in the mix. The CJIN, CJINTHEMIX. And I really don't post a lot, but I'm always up there.
Just know that he's lurking and he's looking. And you can catch this interview wherever you stream podcasts and on YouTube at youtube.com/Beyond the Album Cover. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big thank you to my homeboy, my brother from another mother, my good friend, CJ Riddick. CJ, thank you for coming on, bro.
Yeah, you hear the hand claps?
Yeah, I can hear the hand claps.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right.